Hey everyone, welcome to PC Perspective. We are here today with a video review of the new NVIDIA SHIELD tablet, which is one of these devices on this table. We've kind of...
That one.
Yes, correct. We've kind of outlined the family of NVIDIA-built hardware now, which is kind of interesting to look at, right? We have the original SHIELD, now renamed the SHIELD Portable, to kind of differentiate it. We have the Tegra Note 7, which, even though it was sold by its partners, was really built strictly by NVIDIA. And here we have the new guy. This is the NVIDIA SHIELD tablet, and in front of that, the SHIELD controller. So now we have kind of a SHIELD family. Take the Tegra Note 7 out of the equation there. And it's kind of an interesting product now, the SHIELD tablet, in comparison to everything else, right? So last week, NVIDIA announced the SHIELD tablet. They kind of came out and they talked about all the specifications, and we had a little bit of a preview of performance. It is a Tegra K1 SoC powered device. This is a Tegra Tegra 4, and then that is a Tegra 4 as well. So this is definitely a big upgrade in GPU performance, a slight upgrade in CPU performance, but a big upgrade in GPU performance. If you remember, we did a video and review of the Xiaomi MyPad.
Yeah, the white one.
It was also based on Tegra K1. Same SoC in here, essentially the same hardware platform. The primary differences specification-wise is we have a 1900 by 1200, 1920 by 1200 display, right? So
is that more or less than the
other one was
Xiaomi?
2048 by 1536. So you're talking about a different aspect ratio in addition to a different resolution.
Okay.
It has 16, this is the Wi-Fi version, it has 16 gigs of internal storage. It is, it has front-facing speakers. I'm a big fan of that. Ken makes fun of me all the time for it on tablets, but I'm a big fan, especially of something that
you can hear it better.
Is made for media consumption or gaming.
Yeah.
Front-facing speakers are important there. It has pretty high-quality front and rear cameras on there. It is completely passively cooled. The SHIELD, original SHIELD, had a fan in it.
Yep.
And so you could hear it every once in a while if you weren't wearing headphones. This is completely passive. The back of it does get warm when we were playing Portal earlier. We got it up to like, I don't know, in the 40s Celsius, like internal temperature, and on the back as well. It does have continues the trend of the Note 7. It has a stylus with the NVIDIA Direct Stylus kind of implementation. It is not a hardware implemented stylus technology, but they've done a really good job. They've kind of taken what was good on the Note 7 and converted it over to the SHIELD tablet. They've updated their kind of drawing software. They have something called NVIDIA Dabbler, which they brag about having support for like watercolor painting, basically. Okay. And the GPU is rendering the watercolor, and so you see some, you can adjust like the lighting on the actual surface. So
these are all things that the Xiaomi does not.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, all these are like specific software implementations that the Xiaomi doesn't have.
Okay.
This does have, it has a micro SD card slot, which is very important considering the 16 gigs. If you're using this as a gaming device, you're going to need more storage than that. I already had to, in my testing, filled up the 16 gigs and had to go buy a 32 gig
so can you put
SD card.
Can you put a bunch of games on the SD card?
You can. So far, I was able to transfer, like you could transfer Portal or Half-Life 2 or, most of the games so far you've been able to transfer to the SD card.
Okay.
Interesting there, like specification-wise, performance-wise, I guess there's no real performance hit going from the eEMC internally to the SD card.
Yeah.
So that's a plus, I guess. It does have mini HDMI output as well as using USB for charging. The only complaint I have there is that the mini SD, or I'm sorry, the HDMI, mini HDMI port and the USB port are too close together. If you're using an adapter, like an HDMI to mini HDMI adapter, which is what I was doing at home,
I don't see how you can.
You kind of had to wedge the USB power plug in there, which is never a good feeling, especially with a device that isn't out yet that you're reviewing that you desperately don't want to break. But when I was playing Portal rather, and I got like you have 10% battery remaining message, and I like had to shove it in there, and it worked, but there was, that should be adjusted. That should be different. Yeah. So performance-wise, the SHIELD tablet's a beast. It really is one of, if not the best performing tablet out there, right? And that's thanks to the Tegra K1 part. Now we also have the cover, which is in use right here. You can see it. It's got this cover. It's what kind of acts as the kickstand. It's got multiple heights available to it.
Built into the back of the.
Yep. And this time, rather than kind of sliding into the back, it actually just it's more magnets to kind of attach it to the side. It seems to be pretty strong. You can see the back of the device has a much different design than the Tegra Note 7. I think we all like it a little bit better. It's a 7.9-inch screen, if I didn't mention that before. So it's a little bit bigger as well. The other big kind of announcement here is the Shield controller, which is this guy here. And if you look, if you hold up the Shield, hold up the original Shield there, it's very, very similar. Very similar design there. A couple little tweaks and modifications. Obviously, had to do some extra stuff with this. It really is a nice controller, though. Like, you played with it today. I was playing with it all weekend. It's light now. Obviously, it doesn't have all the hardware in it, and it doesn't have the screen attached. So it's just, but it essentially kind of looks like the same controller, dual analog.
They didn't have to sync a lot of the controllers in.
Right. Like, they didn't have to. Yeah. That's true. So
it's more like a conventional game controller.
Like this weekend, I was switching between gaming on the Xbox One and gaming on this, and I didn't have any of those moments where I was like, oh no, this feels weird or whatever. It felt really good. It's got the back bumper buttons and everything. So some of the unique features about this controller, though, is it's got your Shield button in the middle, which you press to turn it on. You hold it down for several seconds to like sync it. It has all these buttons on top.
How does it connect?
It's connecting through Wi-Fi Direct.
Oh.
So it's not a Bluetooth controller anymore. And NVIDIA claims that Wi-Fi Direct is about half the latency of Bluetooth, and it also has like, I think, 4 to 5 times the available bandwidth. And that's what allows them to do some other cool stuff, like they have an audio connector here. Headphone, it's stereo headphone plus mic. Right, so you can plug in an analog headset there, and you can get all of your audio through your headset, being passed from the tablet to the controller, and your audio will pass back. Right, so if you're playing a multiplayer game, you're streaming to Twitch, we'll talk about in a second, you have all that capability there. It is USB charged, it's a rechargeable, no externally addressable or accessible batteries, if you will.
Can we tell how long it lasts yet? Or
we got ours in like middle of the week last week, so I've been playing with it for like 4 or 5 days, quite a bit, I think, in the testing process, and I think it's like half the battery life, so it seems pretty good.
Oh, so you can figure out.
On the screen itself, it has a battery, like in the notifications bar, it has a battery indicator for the controller.
That's pretty cool.
And you can pair up to 4 controllers with the tablet as well. So if you want to do multiplayer games, maybe not on a tiny screen, but
I don't know about that size.
You hook it up to your TV through HDMI, that will work. You've got these buttons, you've got your back button, you've got your next button, you've got your home button. These are all capacitive buttons, which is interesting, and it's bad. Like, I accidentally touched them several times while I've been playing it, you know. This area down here, although it just looks decorative, is actually a touchpad.
That's pretty cool.
It's a push-down touchpad, and it's not a great touchpad, obviously, but there are certain games.
Does it click, or is it just you have to tap it?
It clicks. Yeah, but there are some games or some instances when you're doing something on the tablet, maybe like, you know, if you're not sitting in front of it, if you have it hooked up to the TV, where you have to use a mouse cursor to do something to emulate something, right? To hit a button.
We actually used that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, like if you don't want to log into their whatever online service, you have to hit continue, and the controller isn't mapped there yet. So you use a touchpad and you do it, and it works fine. And then underneath that, you have your volume buttons. And those are not capacitive, they're actually up and down volume buttons. Controls the volume for your headset, if you have that plugged in, controls the volume on the tablet natively, or it will mute and unmute the volume, the sound to the TV. Right, it won't control the volume to the TV, but it will do all that. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's actually pretty nice. I enjoyed playing games on it. I thought it was pretty good. It does have a microphone. It's kind of hard to see right above the NVIDIA logo there. So if you don't have headset hooked up, you could technically talk to people in multiplayer gaming with that, but it's more useful for you can, if your tablet, again, if you're using the 10-foot mode, console mode, and the tablet's further away, if you want to like search something or launch an app through voice, you can just hold down that button, and you basically are using the Google Now style voice recognition, and it sends it through that. It is an 802.11n, up to 802.11n, 2x2.
5 gigahertz?
5 gigahertz and 2.4 gigahertz.
Okay.
For game streaming and stuff like that, NVIDIA recommends you connect to the 5 gigahertz instead of the 2.4.
Probably should.
Which obviously makes sense. So the controller itself, I'm a big fan of it. It's a $59 add-on. Right, which is expensive, but it's in line with kind of Xbox, PS4 controller pricing in that range. The cover, by the way, is, I think it's $29.
And this, I mean, this comes rechargeable. You don't have to add on.
Nope. No,
right?
no,
Some of
that's the
Xbox
only way.
controllers,
Which
like,
I think is both a positive and a negative,
Yeah,
right? If
yeah.
your battery dies, you either got to be tethered or you got to wait for it to charge up.
And you don't have that bump in the bottom like the Xbox controllers and stuff.
Yeah, true. So that's kind of like specifications overview. There's a lot of information there. Using the Shield tablet as a tablet is actually really nice. Like the Tegra K1 is a super fast processor. If you're doing web browsing, regular Android apps, you can actually stream Netflix at 1080p, which is not very many laptops or not very many tablets have the capability to do.
Yeah.
And Netflix kind of enables those on a case-by-case basis, so it's not like, you know, NVIDIA had to work with Netflix to make that happen.
Yeah. Well, obviously that had enough horsepower for it to be a good experience.
Yeah. In terms of decode, it's clearly not an issue.
Definitely
with
handle
that.
it. Yeah.
It is a pure Android experience. It ships with 4.4.2. There's no weird overlays. There's no weird like launchers. The only thing that NVIDIA has added to it is stuff for Shield-specific functionality, right? And for the stylus to work. When you take the stylus out, it brings up a little menu. Which application do you want to launch? When you hold down the Shield, when you hit the Shield button, it launches the Shield Hub application. And like if you hold down the back button for 3 seconds, it launches the Twitch shadow play thing that I'll talk about in a second as well. So they've added on to it, but they haven't replaced any pure Android, which is nice. And NVIDIA has done a very good job, both with the Shield and with the Note 7, of keeping those devices on the most current, most up-to-date versions of Android. Right? They're a little bit behind, but never dramatically so.
Okay.
So as a tablet itself, it's great, right? The weight is pretty good. It's a little bit thicker than maybe we would like, but there's a very high-end SoC in there, and they've actually it's all passive, so they've kind of put in as much thermal dissipation on the back of it as they can. In terms of gaming, right, NVIDIA builds this as the tablet for gamers. That means that's kind of like the main intent for it, right? So one use case is kind of how we have it here, where you're sitting someplace and you're maybe waiting at a doctor's office, or you're sitting at home and your mom's watching TV or something, and you sit at the table and you are gaming like this, right? You have your controller. You can game on it without the controller. You know, it's still a touchscreen tablet, right? So if you wanted to do that, you could, but obviously the experience is much, much better if you're using games that have controller capability. NVIDIA has a big controller mapper, right, which basically lets you take games that aren't pre-built for controllers and go into the setup process and assign which buttons can do which touch functionality, and it works pretty well. It is low latency. Like playing through this controller, I never felt like, you know, going to the tablet that I was ever being hindered by the controller thing. But to be honest, I never really felt like that when I was using a Bluetooth controller either.
Well, I will say, even earlier we were game streaming Grid 2.
Yeah.
So it was game streaming and using that controller through that tablet to the TV here. And it was, I mean, it felt like I was just playing it on the PC. Directly.
I mean, the Wi-Fi Direct is what Xbox uses essentially for their controllers. PlayStation still uses Bluetooth, I think. So, and PlayStation wouldn't use Bluetooth if it were a horrible technology. But it is better with this, if nothing else. The Shield Hub is like, it's kind of like their home screen when you hit that button, and it brings up a shop where it shows you games that they have kind of vetted that work well with controllers or play very well. They have like a news section that links to GeForce.com. It's where it shows all of your Android games, all of your game stream capable games, and it's kind of their software center. It used to be Tegra Zone, and now they've just basically renamed it Shield Hub for this functionality. I will say that they were promoting heavily like Tegra K1 exclusive games or optimized games. Games that were built to take advantage of that processor, and in particular OpenGL, right? So,
because if you play if you play a game that was, say, optimized for this,
it can't run.
If you play the same game on there, it might run faster and smoother, but it's not going to look any different.
Not necessarily. Yes, correct.
Okay.
Right. So take, for example, Portal. Portal came out on the Shield originally. It was they had ported it to OpenGL ES. They ported Portal to, well, that's unfortunate naming schemes here, ported Portal to OpenGL standard. Right. And playing it on this versus playing it on that, you can actually see a visual difference. Right, so it actually looks better there. They have other games like Trine 2, which ships with all the Shield tablets, which is a game that was on console. It looks amazing. It plays great on the controller. I saw several other ones demoed when I went to go see the Shield tablet originally. War Thunder, which is out on the PS4 now, will play on this, and it's actually kind of cool. You'll be able to do multiplayer between your Shield tablet and the PS4.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to promote the idea to game developers that, hey, it uses OpenGL now. It's very easy to port it over.
Yeah, it should make it much easier.
Yeah, there are a lot of games. They have 11 Tegra K1 games that are kind of announced with this. Not all of them are available yet. Anomaly 2 is another one. Trine 2, War Thunder, Portal, Half-Life 2. There are several of them out there. And they play and they work really, really well. Going down the feature set, Game Stream, which we've talked about a few times, is the ability to send it from your PC to the tablet. That works really well. I was able to play at my house. I played probably Wolfenstein, the New Order, the new one, for about 2 or 3 hours, and it was great.
Oh, just on there or on your TV?
I actually hooked that up to a TV, and then I was playing it sitting on my couch with this, and launched Steam Big Picture mode, because it's not an officially supported Game Stream title, but the controller just automatically worked. And it was great. And is
that what, at 1080p or what was it?
So when you hook this up to your TV, you have an option. When you hook an HDMI cable up to it, you can do mirror mode or console mode.
Okay.
And console mode is 1080p. It sends out 1920 by 1080p to the TV.
Right.
And then it turns off the screen because the screen is 19 by 12, so you can't mirror it.
Okay.
And when it does that, it actually closes all the applications, and you have to kind of start. You're basically, it's like you're rebooting the device, kind of.
All right.
Maybe you're rebooting like the device driver or something. If you do mirror mode, then it'll stay 19 by 12 here, and it'll mirror it on the TV, but you'll have the black bars representing, you know, like you're showing a 19 by 12 image on a 1080p screen, so you're going to have some horizontal black bars there.
It's weird that it doesn't just letterbox that instead, but or if I got it backwards.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. No, it definitely keeps it on there, and that allows you, like, if you're trying to demonstrate something on there for somebody on TV.
Screen on that.
Yeah, yeah. So the console mode actually works great. But like I said, make sure you have it connected to battery or to power. Otherwise, once that battery starts to drain out, it will go pretty quick when you're doing gaming. So I did, like I said, and I did Game Stream to the TV with Wolfenstein, and what else I played? Grid 2, we were playing that earlier today. Yeah. And that all works really well. It works as well as it did on Shield, but now it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more convenient form factor in terms of hooking it up to the TV, but still keeping this controller. You could do that with the Shield, but you had to leave the Shield by the TV. And then you left the good controller by the TV.
You need a really long cord or something.
Yeah, you could do that, I guess. And then you had like connected like a regular crappy Bluetooth controller to it, and you use that. So kind of defeated the purpose. The other new feature, kind of the last new big feature, is Twitch support and Shadowplay support. So they've built in the ability to stream out to Twitch from the tablet. Right, you hold down the back button for like 3 seconds, and it brings up a little menu, and you can do this at anywhere inside the tablet, at the base OS or at in a game or whatever. Okay. And you log into your Twitch account, and you can stream out to Twitch, and you can use the front-facing camera to like show your face.
With an overlay.
Yep, and it overlays it in the right-hand corner. You can actually move it to wherever you want and resize it. And then you can actually show the Twitch chat overlaid on your screen as well. And this all works while you're connected to the TV in console mode.
Or even doing streaming.
Or game streaming. So, so you could play Android games that way. You could play Game Stream games that way. You could just be watching YouTube videos, I think, and do that. Like, it works at the home screen and everything. Sure. And it also does Shadowplay. It'll record videos. It will record the last 10 minutes of video for you.
Is it recording to that, or where is it?
It records locally here. It does really, really cool stuff.
So you can do...
It gets complicated. So earlier today...
Count here. So you could potentially be... You start off Twitch streaming.
Yep.
And now you're playing some game.
Yep.
Shadowplay.
Game Stream.
Or Game Stream. Yep. Sorry, now I'm mixing up all the terms too. All right, so Game Stream
from a PC.
You could record
locally with Shadowplay.
Which is Shadowplay.
You could stream out with Twitch.
And it's plugged into a separate television.
And HDMI to the TV.
And then the controller is talking to it over.
It's a lot of stuff going on.
We did all this at once?
Yes, we did. We did that today with Grid 2.
And
to be perfectly fair, it worked. we notice a couple of hiccups every once in a while where like the resolution coming over game stream was being reduced a little bit, and I don't know if that's bandwidth issues internally in the office or if there was compute
or
limitations
50 things at
on the processor
time.
itself. Yeah, and it's you kind of forgive it a little bit because of that.
It's doing a lot.
It's doing a lot there. So there's a whole lot of cool stuff in this device. So here's the thing. We talked about, I'm not going to mention benchmarks because they're great. If you saw our MyPad 7.9 review,
it should be similar, right?
It's almost identical. Like the performance is fantastic.
Right.
This is actually a little bit better because the driver stack is a little bit more progressed since NVIDIA has been using it. CPU performance is great. Battery life is pretty good. It's a smaller battery than the MyPad, but it's a smaller screen. Fewer pixels, so it kind of balances out.
Yeah.
The battery life on it's pretty good. That's obviously battery life for Wi-Fi battery testing, not for gaming battery testing. And gaming performance, that's obviously going to shrink quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think
How bad do you think really? Like if you were gaming just
I feel like I was able to play Portal for, well, I think it was like 3 or 4 hours.
That's
But
good.
that was without the screen on.
Oh, okay.
Right.
What about like, well, Wolfenstein, you were doing the same thing.
So I haven't done enough testing, like sitting at a table playing it.
Right.
I did some of that, but not for 3 or 4 hours at a time.
But it's still doing all the, when you were playing Portal, it's on that device.
It's all on that device. That was HDMI.
Well, you were going out to a TV, but like...
Game streaming should be less impactful on battery life because it's basically taking an H.264 signal and passing it on or displaying it on the screen.
So
Whereas
it's a good sign,
Portal turns out to be a really good benchmark. Like if you have the portals pointed at each other, right, and you kind of see the infinite loop of Portal, we got that temperature and that frequency kind of pegged up there for doing some of that, which we'll be able to do some more testing on it later. But it worked really well. The question I have is, so pricing-wise, this is $299 for the tablet. $60 for the controller, $40 I think for the, maybe $30 for the cover. You're talking about a $399 package for this. Versus for $399 you can buy an Xbox One or you could buy a PlayStation 4. Right, there are cost questions there without a doubt, right? Also, even though people kind of gave the Shield Portable a bunch of crap for it being a 5-inch screen and you're trying to play a first-person shooter on it.
Right.
There was a whole lot of convenience to the fact that you folded that over and you could leave. Right. And when you wanted to play, if you were sitting at a counter or if you were sitting on a plane or if you were standing up, you could do that. You can't play this standing up.
That's true.
Like if you're out and in line for something, you can't play this standing up. You need to be at a table. You can't really set it on your lap. It's
you can't do it with the controller.
With the controller, I mean. Right. So it loses a little bit of the form factor benefit, I think, that the Shield Portable has, but it adds a whole lot. It is a full tablet, right? And so, they build this as the tablet for gamers, and I really think that's their angle, right? Is because there are a ton of great tablets of this capacity out there. Like you can get a Nexus 7, you can get an iPad Air, you can get an iPad Mini or whatever. Like for a tablet,
that's pretty good.
There are tablets, right? But it's perfectly competent in that regard. And in fact, like I said, with the front-facing speakers, I think it makes a better device, like to watch a movie or show people videos or whatever.
Right.
But for the gaming side of it, there's really no comparison in the Android market.
That's true.
Or even the iOS market, right? For a portable gaming tablet, the issue is the gaming compelling enough yet? Like you've got Portal, you've got Half-Life 2, you've got something like War Thunder coming out and Trying to. Those are pretty good games, but that's only like 4 or 5. Of the 11 that come out, maybe if you even count the 11 that they're coming out with as like high quality games, you've got 11 games.
Still a small number.
Still a small number, and they're essentially creating their own console based on the Tegra K1. And trying to get developers to bring games over to it. And I really think what's going to be important here is what games continue to come over to it.
That's true.
Because it's OpenGL, I think they have a better chance than they did with that.
Yeah, it's much easier to cross-port them over.
If we could get, a bunch of Unity games to come over, if you start seeing like the kind of games that show up on Xbox Live Arcade or the PlayStation, store, right? Kind of those downloadable games to this, and it kind of creates a different console ecosystem, I think it becomes really awesome, right? You hook this up to your TV, you have 4 of these controllers, you can play multiplayer games that way.
It kind of is a console by itself.
But then when you're done and you want to leave, you just unplug the HDMI and the power and you go. You come home, you plug it back in. Right? So there's a lot of benefit to that if they can continue to make the software developers see that.
It's kind of a chicken and the egg thing, though, right? Like, that'll catch on more if there's more games, but then...
It always is.
Yeah.
It absolutely 100% is the case. So,
right.
We've rambled on quite a long time about this, but I think it's a really interesting device. It's on sale, I think, as of today, as we post this. So
is it like you can buy it as a package deal?
I don't think so. You got to buy them individually. I'm sure the vendors, or like Amazon and Newegg, will sell bundles, but $299 plus $69.99 plus I think $29.99, might be $39.99. Yeah, I think the total package with everything was $400. So you get a really nice set of hardware.
Yeah.
But you have to make that decision, right?
It'd be nice if it all came in one box, though.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Someone that wants to be Christmas shopping.
That's true.
Like, that's your
There's
typical...
no reason why they couldn't do
that's your typical, like, the parents at the store Christmas shopping. If it's just a box that they can get that just has it all in there, it's probably...
The end question will be, will it be more successful than that? Because even though that was a good device, I think it wasn't as successful as NVIDIA hoped or needed it to be.
I think at least the tablet part might be, because I mean, you see folks just buying that.
I don't really know what the success rate of the Tegra K1 or the Tegra Note 7 was either.
But if I was in the market for a tablet, I might strongly consider that if I'm a gamer and potentially want to play some games on the tablet, even if maybe I didn't in the end, it's it's still a decent tablet.
You got the option there. Yeah. And $299 is not way out there.
No,
you can get much less expensive ones like the Nexus 7 or the Asus MemoPad 7.
You could, but they're not as powerful.
They're not nearly as powerful as them. So, guys, check out the full review. I've got it linked here in the video and the description below at pcpro.com. We've got a bunch of benchmarks. We've got a bunch of other pictures and images and everything of all of this hardware in there. And then I'm very curious to know what you guys think, because this is the device that, even though I like it a lot, what's it going to mean at the end of the day is how many people out there want to buy it.
Yep.
I think a lot of people saw that and were excited, but they obviously didn't. Not everyone bought it, the original Shield.
Yeah.
So the Shield tablet will be the next kind of iteration of that. Will it be a success? So again, check out the full review at pcpro.com, guys. Thanks for watching.